Hey everyone, I'm Mr. Smith. This is the exclusives. I am here with my co-host, Annie O'Neill. Now, some of you are wondering, why is Annie O'Neill sitting next to Mr. Smith? Well, we have put our differences aside just for this show. I hope that you enjoy. Annie, why don't you tell them who our guest is today?
Our guest today is none other than the agent of chaos, the chaos goblin himself, Kevin Kalloway.
Kevin, welcome.
That's me. And yeah, it's a good thing you explained that because I know Annie at any given time can slap a submission on someone and murder them. So, it's good to set it aside, for the greater good.
Yeah, for the greater good for this show. I'm so happy to have you. Listen, this is our first episode, so we're gonna kind of jump in there and just have some real conversation over some really good food because I think we are all ready to eat as well.
I can already tell you the fries are delicious.
Oh yeah.
So let's jump in there and let's talk about Formula Tag Team. Kind of who we grew up on, who kind of influenced our love for wrestling, if it was a tag team. If it wasn't, we'll talk about that as well. So for you, Kevin, tell our audience how long you've been watching wrestling, and if there was a tag team that influenced your love for wrestling.
There's just kind of a two-part question in the end for me because I grew up, I started watching wrestling around 2000, late 2000, early 2001. It's around the time I started watching, but my father and grandfather loved wrestling. So I was introduced to it prior, but not like watching it regularly. Mm-hmm. As far as tag teams that were influential to me, before my career, I really loved like the Hardys, I loved the Dudleys, I loved Edge and Christian for all different reasons. While I was growing up, but then once I got older, I started appreciating more of the technical ones. And when I got trained and I ended up being in the business, I really got to study some of the other ones, and I ended up loving like Midnight Express and really getting all those like managers and things like that involved. I loved watching. Just going back and studying a lot of people, like even just like Edge and Orton at the time when they were doing Rated RKO for the brief stint. Mm-hmm. They were fantastic in how they moved around the ring and made sure everything counted. So it was a lot of different things that came up in looking at tag team wrestling, and it really influenced the way that I ended up doing tag team wrestling with the Purge.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to talk about the Purge. I mean, how could we not? Right?
I don't think you can avoid talking about it.
So for me, I grew up watching wrestling at like a very young age, and one of the tag teams that really had an influence on me were the Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels. Having these guys do this high fly stuff when everybody else were, more technical wrestlers or big powerhouse wrestlers. Seeing these guys fly off the top ropes, I was like, what is this? This is amazing, so it was very entertaining for me. But as I got older, there were other tag teams that were more technical that caught my eye. I did like Rated RKO, but I also liked the New Age Outlaws. Mm-hmm. And I think they were more psychology than wrestling. They were great wrestlers, but the way they told a story. I can tell you, Billy Gunn, in my brain, should have did a lot more as a wrestler in that time. But them as a tag team, I think they were really, really good at telling stories. Mm-hmm. What about you, Amy?
I started watching wrestling in the late 90s. That was the thing that my dad, sister, and I did. I was only about 5 years old, but, I love the Hollywood Blondes, when Steve Austin was the stunning Steve Austin, and but his Shawn Michaels. Yeah, I don't know why I just drew a blank. I had his face in my head. I'm like, and the words just kind of disconnected. But just how well that they parallel each other, and I love the power that was like Kane and the Undertaker, and just the power that they
brothers of
they
destruction.
just exuded, and that's just something that tectonic plates shift when they're in the ring together, and you know,
Interesting that you brought up Brothers of Destruction because so at first we all know they weren't a tag team.
What?
So
you're telling me what?
So Kane came and destroyed the mystique of the Undertaker in some people's eyes by humanizing him and having a brother now, right? Because that was one thing that was big about Kane coming to WWE. But when they got together, I remember on Monday Night Raw where they went almost every match. They came out and chokeslammed everybody in the ring. And for me, this was like, these two monsters cannot be stopped. Who's going to stop Kane and Undertaker? And they became tag team champions. So really, nobody could really stop Kane and Undertaker. So that's a good tag team.
It is. And they formed around the time that they did the WCW crossover, too. Because they didn't really team until then. They just warred and then left and then warred and then left and then warred. So it was interesting to see them feud with, like DDP and Canyon.
Yeah.
Who did they face? I remember it was Brian Adams. I just couldn't. Chronic. They faced Chronic, and they were two bigger guys, and it was like, oh my God, maybe they're actually in danger. And then they ended up murdering them. I don't actually remember who they lost the tag titles to, but I think it was some kind of super team, and then they just passed that along to like the Dudleys or Edge and Christian again. But yeah, Brothers of Destruction were fantastic.
And you said the Dudleys. We can't go without mentioning the Dudleys. The Dudleys were such a different team, right? Because these guys came from this crazy world called ECW, and when they came to WWE, it was like, well, all the stuff they did in ECW, what can they do in WWE that was going to be like next level? And as you said, you got the Dudleys and the Hardys and Edge and Christian, and the TLC match was formed. One of the greatest tag team matches I've seen in history. They put their life on the line. And the crazy part was they didn't know who was going to win until that night. So like that's
welcome to WWE.
Right.
Well, at the time.
Yeah, right. So it's just like they had to call all this stuff without an inning. And then you saw what they put together. So really, really, really great.
Do you think there is anything that kind of embodies what ECW was like in today's generation? Do either of you?
Interesting. I think that, and a lot of people could disagree with me. I think AEW is trying to do some things that bring you back to the ECW days, because ECW was bananas, psycho. The stuff they were doing, you had to be psycho, right? Like going through tables on fire and yeah. So I think they're trying to do it.
I think they're trying to push boundaries and push limits. And I don't necessarily hate it. I don't always like what they end up doing, but that's a personal taste more than like I hate them for it.
Right.
I would say AEW is probably the best comparison. I don't see another way around. I don't see anyone else doing anything that's maybe like a GCW. They might be closer. They actually might be closer in comparison because it's...
If you're talking grassroots ECW, we're in a gymnasium, I'm about to die tonight, then yes.
GCW might be the comparison.
But if it was on a bigger scale, influence to audience is kind of what I thought you were asking, because AEW has a bigger reach in the sense of they're on TV every week, in the sense how they are. But if you say complete comparison, I think you're right. Complete comparison, absolutely.
Especially because I think later ECW they had more like TV deals and things like that, and I think that's where AEW might be the better comparison. But like early starting ECW,
like if you were there as a grassroots fan,
I think GCW is the best one there.
Yeah. And that's crazy because you think about these guys were doing that 200 nights a year. How in the world are you going through a table? At least 100 nights of the year, you're going through a table.
Divine intervention.
And that's why half of them can't walk today. But
True.
yeah, no, seriously. If you look at those guys, they're limping around,
Right.
or in a wheelchair or something. And thank you for your great entertainment. But 100 nights in a year, I'm not going through a table.
No.
I'm not by far. I'm not a wrestler, but if I was,
I'm gonna find
I'm
more
still-
nights to not go
You
through
know
a
what?
table.
I'll stick in the podcasting lane. That's
Yeah.
safe for me. That's good. I'll use my entity instead of my body.
Smart.
no, as you when
thank you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Thank you for the entertainment. Let me pose this question to you, because you say, who compares the ECW? Do you think that there's anything today in the product that is like Monday Night War?
That's like the Monday Night War. I mean, the literal closest thing is going to be AEW and WWE.
Okay.
But at the same time, I don't really view them as competing at this point. Not because of like a sizable lead or any viewership or anything, though I do feel WWE ends up with the better end of the stick on that. Mostly because of their name value and their backing.
Yeah, lots of money.
But that being said, like, they're trying to do two different things.
Yeah.
They're not trying to be the same thing. AEW is trying to do something different.
Yeah.
Sometimes I equate it to like WWE is going to be the ones that don't want to take as many risks. They don't want to do too much.
Yeah.
That's going to hassle all their advertising and things like that. AEW is in the laboratory trying to cook up something new that's going to work.
Well, what they're trying to
Yeah,
do
they're
is,
trying to deviate from the pattern that's
and
always
they're-
been.
yeah. And I think they're also trying to make sure that they don't lose the audience they have.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's death to your promotion if you're trying to compare yourself to WWE. Just because they're such a big machine, if they want to swallow you, they can. I've showed it a million times over.
Mm-hmm.
Every time someone says, we're comparing ourselves to WWE, and they're not there anymore.
And the thing is, they're not WWE because
Yeah.
WWE is WWE.
Mm.
But I mean, how much of the AEW fan base are made up of those ex-WWE fans who are, I don't know, they're burned out by the product. Whether it be politics or the formula is just rinse, cycle, repeat.
I think you're touching on something that's so true.
Mm-hmm.
People want something new, right?
Right.
Yep.
So let me challenge our fans that are watching. You want something new? Michigan Independent Wrestling is where it's at. We'll give you something new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Working in the business, that's interesting you went there. So working in the business, Kevin, what is it that you see as a goal for you when it comes to putting on a great wrestling match, telling a great story? Because like you said, we want something new. Kevin, you're somebody that's getting them something new. So what is it? What's your inspiration?
Generally, when I look at a match, my first question to anyone who's booking me in the match, promoting the match, whatever, my first question is, where are we going? What's the business? If it's a one-off match, we'll just give them something here and there. Maybe someone else has future business, they'll go over, whatever, we'll make the other person look good. But if we have future business to get over, that's where the creativity comes in where and how we can end up getting there.
Yeah.
Promoters and bookers, like, they're great for ideas, but we end up becoming the artists of it. So we get commissioned to do these paintings, and we have to bring those to life. So it's important to not just give them something and say, hey, we need this, but allow them to have some level of input so that they can bring what there is natural to them to the table too. That's where you get the best paintings possible, when we have a collaborative effort. Because if there are people on different pages, and if there are people trying to like pigeonhole someone into something that they don't want to do, it just doesn't end up working well, or it doesn't end up coming off well, even if every party is trying to be professional, because it ends up not being the heart of something that someone wants.
Is that an authenticity problem?
Yeah, mostly, because then it won't come off. It won't come off as the authentic self
Right.
of the performer, the promoter, the promotion.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't work out that way.
And how do you get around something like that if there's like that, the gap in that disconnect?
Usually it's either finding a way to meet in the middle and find something that works for everyone involved. But even when that can't be reached or reached in general, sometimes it is just suck it up and be professional and get it out of there. Because I've had those moments where like I don't necessarily enjoy the creative that's been given to me, or oh, this could potentially screw up something later on. At that point, it's just like, well, this is the booking. I'm not going to walk out on them. So we're going to try and make this work as best we can.
Yeah. So to our fans, as you heard from Kevin Kalloway, professionalism is everything. And so we have to professionally pay our sponsors. We'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Exclusives. I am Annie O'Neill, here with my co-host Mission Smith, and our guest today, the Agent of Chaos, Kevin Kalloway. Kevin, what are you watching now, and what do you enjoy about being a wrestling fan in 2025?
You know what? It takes a lot. I have a very analytical brain, so it's very tough to shut off and to not tape study. But the stuff that WWE's been doing recently, specifically with Cody and Cena, I think has really caught my attention and made me feel like a fan again. It's the first time in like years, maybe since last Mania.
Okay.
Not because anyone's like doing a bad job or like anything like that. Like, Punk and Drew's feud was really close to it too.
Yeah.
But man, it's tough to miss a week in WWE right now because the product is so hot. Contrary to whoever's yelling loudest on the internet.
Yeah.
It's really, really deep and good storytelling where they're building things for a long term. Other than that, I do a lot of scouting, specifically female scouting for Divine. Shout out Divine. So I watch a lot of the female matches that are around like the Midwestern area to make sure that I have the best talent that I can bring to Ethan, who's the promoter of Divine, and say, hey, like, this looks good, or if he brings me a name, I check them out, I scout them and say, hey, yes, good, bring them in, or hey, maybe they need more work, maybe later on, or maybe at a different price, or whatever.
Is there a set of criteria you're looking for when a name comes your way? What stands out to you the most?
I say what always stands out to me the most is personality and charisma and knowing yourself in the ring. Now, that could mean a lot of different things, in fairness. I tend to prefer someone who can go out there. I don't need you to hit the prettiest splash. It's cool if you can. I don't need you to hit the prettiest splash. I need you to be able to walk out there and in the entrance sells me the most. Okay. If you can walk out there and enter and I can tell what you're going for,
you're happy.
Wait,
good.
So you're saying it takes more than, whoa, I'm a girl, I'm beautiful, look at me. Because sometimes I see that, and I appreciate women's wrestling. But I feel like some kind of fall into that, I don't know, category where they just think that's it.
And that comes from, in my opinion, take it for what it's worth, that comes from an era of, like, the Attitude Era, where women were very sexualized.
Yeah.
And it was a problem. And, man, if you go back and watch some of those, they age like milk. It is hard to go back and watch some of those women's matches.
And you know what? It's funny because you are so right. I've seen some of the women from the Attitude Era today, and I go, whoa. So I agree. My question for you, though, is when you find someone that you really believe in, how do you approach recruiting them?
So generally, I'm not the one who ends up reaching out. I'll allow Ethan to do that because he's the one that's going to end up making the business deals.
Yeah.
I'm hired on to be the consultant to be able to give the yes or the no, and then I help with any kind of ideas. So I don't view myself as the big picture guy. I view myself more. I'm the guy who micromanages it because I'm very good at figuring out exactly where the holes might be in the story, as opposed to coming up with the story itself. He tends to do that and then comes to me and goes, hey, how could we set this up and make it work? And then that's when I'll give the bullet points, the details. Oh, like we could go this way, we could go that way, we could go that way. And then I leave it up to him, like whichever one sounds best to you, we're good. So as far as like reaching out themselves, like I reach out more for other stuff to actual talent. In booking for festivals, in booking for anything else, I'm reaching out to talent to try and bridge those gaps. And I just reach out professionally and see if they're interested. If they're not, whatever. If they are, let's see if we can make a deal.
So do you have like a certain character archetype in your mind, and then you reached out based on that to the person you would think played that character the best?
You know what? It can go both ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do have something in mind, especially for festival work, because we'll have specific gimmicks tailored to the festival itself that we need someone to fit that role. But then other times, we'll just book someone and we go, well, this is a talent. We know they can work we know they can work a character, male, female, non-binary, whatever. We know that they can work a character. Let's make one for them because we already know they're a talent instead of giving them one.
Okay. So it's really tailored to, like in this business, we try to make sure that everybody looks good, right, on both ends. So, when it comes to matches, though, because you age in matches, what do you think? And this is kind of almost like advice. What would you say is the best strategy for aging your match?
My best strategy in agenting a match is making sure the finish is pristine. Because as long as the finish is pristine and hopefully as foolproof as we can make it, even if the rest of the match doesn't go off well, everyone just remembers the finish. So if we have a good finish and we stick the landing, it doesn't matter how many times we almost fall throughout it. Because if that finish is good, we still get the reaction, everything still goes off well. Now, don't get me wrong, the rest of the match is important because it helps build to the finish. But the finish is the biggest thing that you need nailed down. You can work out the rest of the pieces. Hell, you can work out the rest of the pieces in the ring if you need to. That finish needs to be nailed down.
Absolutely. Now, we did talk about the current product. I will agree. John Cena's heel turn is a masterclass. And if you don't think so, you're wrong. Because, let's essentially put it this way. The man walks down, not runs down. That's the first lesson. Okay? He lays the towel in the ring for the fans to read it, for the cameras to read it. Lesson number 2. He allows you to boo him for 5 minutes. Lesson number 3. He allows Cody to look as great as he can as a baby. And never lose character at all. He lets him do that. Cody had his great night. He walks away. He's leaving you to think, what is John Cena thinking?
He doesn't show any reaction.
Master class. Now, great thing, I will say this. I had a lot of fun with him pointing the kid out.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with him saying, it's my voice on the music, so it's my time now. And my favorite part of this segment was, what do you want? You're getting nothing. You're getting absolutely nothing from me because I've given it to you for 25 years.
What do you think about the symbolism behind the fact that he didn't change his music?
Basically, it plays into a heel. For me, the psychology of it is, it's still about me.
Right.
If I change this, then he pretty much gives you what you thought you would, because everybody's looking for new music, looking for new clothes.
That's the key to it. To me, is it would be more babyface for him to actually change the music.
Can you explain that?
It's what the fans wanted.
Why would you do what they wanted?
So he didn't do what they wanted. He kept it the same.
He kept everything the same instead of changing because everybody at one point, I think this was in the mid-2000s, they wanted him to turn heel.
Yeah.
They've been wanting this John Cena heel turn forever. Forever.
And also, you got to think about it too, because we're playing it into the psychology of it. John Cena changing it just means John Cena as a gimmick. He wanted you to believe John Cena has psychology outside the ring turn to this person, and that's masterclass.
Yep.
Like and no shade on The Rock. It's a gimmick. Like the final boss is a gimmick. Also reality too, because he's part of the board of directors. But it's a gimmick because he's changing his clothes. He's looking different. Now, if The Rock would have came out there in a regular jumpsuit like he normally does, and
The tracksuit and everything, yeah.
yeah, you would have just been like, oh, now The Rock's just a jerk.
Sure.
He's turned into a jerk. John Cena wanted you to believe it.
Yeah.
Now he's got kids crying in the audience. The same guy that wears the clothes I wear. And that was another thing. You're wearing my clothes. You're dressing like me. Masterclass. So where they go with this, it can only get better.
And I mean, if you look out in the audience, how many John Cena shirts?
That was
do you
the
see
whole
them
point.
wearing?
You're dressed like me. That was the whole.
Right.
Oh man, I could watch it over and over.
I did watch it over and over again. Some for tape study and some just to enjoy.
Yeah.
It's. I'm so curious where this ends up going. My assumption, people, is that he ends up winning it at some point. Might not be at Mania. It
I
might
don't
be
think it's
somewhere.
going to be a Mania though.
Here's the thing. I don't know
I don't either.
because
I don't want to know.
Me either.
Right.
I'll be there, but my thing is, I do want to win it at Mania. Here's why. I've always wanted a heel turn. I always wanted a heel turn from John Cena. So I want him to win his 17th title as a heel. Mania's perfect because what did Cody do? He chased Manias for 2 years. Let him lose it at Mania. It tells a story. It almost tells a story why Cody Rhodes is going to go heel at some point. Because it's going to happen. The American Nightmare is a heel character. If anybody watched New Japan or
That's where it spawned from.
yeah, he created it as a heel. So it's the American dream killing the American dreams of the people. That's the whole story behind it. So I feel like the American dream is WrestleMania. If you kill the American dream at WrestleMania, Cody can go heel later. If he wins, it's like, why ever go heel? So I feel, and John Cena's leaving after this year, so next year Cody's going to be heel at some point.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be way, way down the line. Than Cody's
Way down the
heel.
line?
It's not going to be to the level of Cena.
No,
way
of course,
down
but
the
I was
line,
thinking if he
but-
goes heel, he's got characters, he's got wrestlers that he has story with.
Yeah.
Like Randy Orton.
Oh, yeah.
That's who I think he's going to go heel with, because Randy Orton's only got so much time.
Who is the baby face that follows Cody Rhodes though? That's my thing.
So that would be my thing is right now, and this is looking at it from a business perspective, not creative perspective, because I don't disagree. Like a creative, it is ripe with creative plans of Cody's heel. The problem becomes who takes up the mantle as full-time babyface and company man, because
That's hard.
now you're in a pickle.
That's hard.
I mean, and also
And that's why.
who's a super heel right now that could be super babyface?
I'll tell you who's a super heel right now that can be babyface. He was babyface. I feel like there needs to be, we're talking about tag team,
Sure.
I think there needs to be a separation in the Street Profits. I feel like Montez Ford is someone who could be super baby for the company. Because he's got the military background. You can really play into that.
Good.
So Montez Ford, probably.
I don't
In
hate
my
that.
brain.
I think it would take time though. So again, we're looking at Cody Rhodes down the line.
Yeah. But to answer your question, is there anyone who exists? Montez Ford exists.
Yeah.
I mean-
I think there's a lot of people that exist.
This iteration of Roman Reigns, like, he's inadvertently becoming a super babyface right now.
So I think Roman Reigns is the biggest.
I'll take more box. Sure.
Roman Reigns is the biggest draw that the company has. I think he's a bigger draw than Cody. I don't know if he's a bigger draw than Cena and Rock, but he's the biggest draw that they have full time.
You know, it's unfortunate that Cena's leaving because right now that's your really big baby that you, well, not his heel, but he was like the definition of WWE for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, the question is, what's going to happen? if Cody is here? Who's next?
The
right?
biggest babyface they'd have past that full time, because I would consider Roman part time, because he's kind of here and there and then gone, which is fine. So is Cena, so is Rock. Let's put all of them aside. Cody's going to be turning heel. Your biggest face at that point is CM Punk. I don't see a way around it.
Yeah.
That's your biggest face.
You know what?
But I don't view him as the company man.
But
That's the
you-
problem.
No one has said Jey Uso yet, and that's a glaring problem for me.
Okay.
That's because
Can I-
he hasn't quite reached
Okay.
it yet. I'm not saying he isn't super
Sure.
over, because he is.
Unfortunately, though,
Yes.
he's had to be in the shadow of some of the people we just mentioned.
So he's still working his way out of it.
Yeah.
Again, if we're looking down the line, I do think Jey Uso has a shot to get in through. And I think this Mania season is going to be a lot of proof of that.
Yeah.
I think telling this story with Gunther over this long a period, it's been tougher to keep interesting, but they have. So
Yeah,
in doing that, I
storytelling is really good. I'll tell you, we'll be wrapping up this episode, and we hope that you guys watch future episodes. We're going to thank Kevin again. At the end of this episode, we'll let you know how you can follow everybody. Here's my last question for the day. We just talked about the bloodline, I guess, because that's who most of these people are. What do you think is the playing field for the women's side of the bloodline? I mean, they don't really say it, but The Rock has said it with the family tree. Naomi's part of the family bloodline, and so is
Nia Jax.
Nia Jax. What do you think how do you see that planning out for them now?
I don't know if they end up together at all. Maybe. They're both heel now, so it's possible. I don't think that they'll explore that just yet. I think they'll wait a little bit for that, because there's not really a bloodline thing going on currently. But that doesn't mean there won't be. Because I think Fatu ends up being some level of tribal chief-esque thing.
Yeah,
And he ends up being the usurper with everybody else.
he's amazing.
God, I love Jacob Fatu.
Let me say this, disclaimer. Jacob Fatu should be champion by Mania if it was me. But I'm not booking for WWE, but I would love to see it.
By next Mania, maybe.
Yeah. I just
Yeah.
fantasy booking.
But looking at that, you could potentially factor them in to a bloodline later, but I just don't know what other females you would have to oppose that. Are there other females that are a part of the bloodline that
So
I'm
they
unaware of?
have the Zilla twins,
Sure.
right? You could have Tamina come in as a manager.
I think Tamina manager is smart, because I know her, at least from reports that I've heard, don't know her personally, her knees are bad.
Yeah, so her as a
My
manager.
knees are bad.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how hers are
I
after
mean, if
splashing off
Paul
the top rope.
Heyman can be a manager as long as he has, she can come be a manager.
Yeah.
for sure. Paul Heyman going through tables and stuff was nuts. But let's get to the end of it. Do you have any questions? Current product, what Kevin's doing, what Kevin's done. Because I think before we go, we need to talk about something that everybody knows that you're a part of, which is the Purge.
That's true. Purge has been going strong for, oh God, 6, 7 years now. It was the first year of my career that I was put into the Purge. Shout out to Briar Wellington and Horror Slam. They're the ones that put me, Sean, and our retired partner, Justin Pilgrim, together to form that unit, and it really skyrocketed my ability to have a career in general. So I do give a lot of thanks to them. Purge itself now, like, we don't do as many tag team things. Sean and I kind of have our own goals currently.
Yeah.
And that's fine. We all have our own goals in life, but there's never a day where you can't potentially have a purge on your hands. Because, you never know when our goals kind of align.
Okay. Any questions?
There was a match at CCW where you actually took on Sean as a singles opponent.
Yeah.
How was that for you? And how did it, the dynamic change from the normal tag team relationship?
Well, we've been tagging for 7 years.
Right.
So it was a match where neither of us hit a move because we knew each other so well.
Nah, man.
until finally I surprised him out the back and rolled him up.
Yeah.
So, like, in looking at a match like that, it's tough. It's tough trying to fight one of your friends, but at the same time, we know what's on the line. And at that time, it was a spot in the match to crown the first ever champ. There, wow, what was the title
All
name?
Media?
All Media. That's what it was. To crown the first ever All Media champion, and when prizes are on the line, something's happening.
No, absolutely. I mean, and watching you in the ring, if you guys haven't seen this guy in the ring, I don't know what's wrong with you. But
I don't know what's wrong with me in there.
but I know that you have something coming up, right?
I have a lot of things coming up.
There's a particular one I just saw today. Is it New Age?
New Edge.
New Edge.
Yep.
Excuse me. New Edge.
New Edge. New Edge is actually tomorrow, as of this recording. It will be me versus Tommy Rinks, and I'm again vying for an inaugural championship. The Elevation title, yes, correct. The Elevation title, where if I win that match, I get inserted into the main event. It's a fatal four-way between anyone who wins the matches. And I believe it's an elimination fatal four-way. So, naturally I'll be walking away with some gold there, which is nice. Some other guys might be walking away with a concussion. But that's okay. I also have Frontline Pro this weekend, which they did not put me in a match, but I'm going to show up anyway.
All right.
And, I guess I'll have to insert myself into something.
I mean, you do have a way with words, and you
Way
don't-
with fists, too.
You do. You put the fist in sophisticated. So.
Yeah, so, I mean, listen, if you're going to be at the end of those shows, you're going to be completely and utterly scared of this guy because he's going to, like he said, concussions are coming. We want to thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you for being on our very first show. Tell people how they can reach you or follow you or all that good stuff.
You can follow me at Kalloway Kevin on Instagram, or you can follow me at Kevin Kalloway on Facebook. I don't really have any other medias, but other than that, you can see me at your local shows or outstate shows or kind of anywhere. I just pop up.
And Annie?
You can find me on Instagram at Annie Are You Okay? Facebook, Annie O'Neill. And that's it. How about you?
Mission Smith, Mizzion Smith. That's everywhere. I kept it simple. This has been the exclusive Annie. It has been a pleasure to do this first episode with you. It's been a pleasure having you. Check us out, guys. The exclusive episode 2 is coming. We'll see you soon.